Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast, where we explore your hidden thoughts and desires, revealing your greatest drop the soap moments. Now here's your host, Art Costello.
Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast, where we look into the minds of our guests and figure out how their epiphanies and how their expectations affected their lives. Today, I have somebody that I have a lot of respect for and love dearly. Ashley Berges. She's a producer and the host of the Celebrity Perspective on Amazon Prime, nationally syndicated talk show host for Live Your True Life Perspectives, video columnist for the Good Man Project, writer for Street Zine, the newspaper that helps homeless men and women, mentor, life coach, psychologist, and modern-day philosopher. Ashley Berges has dedicated her life to empower men, women, and children to seek, understand, and ultimately choose to live their true life. Welcome, Ashley. Great to have you on the show.
So glad to be on your show, Art. How are you doing?
Doing great. You know, one of the things that I always admire about you so much is that you want to help everybody. You don't just focus on men, women, but men, women, and children, which to me is really, really special when you want to encompass everybody.
Everybody matters, everybody matters. And I think a lot of times people do pick a cross-section or age demographic or specific sex, but I want to help everyone. So all that stuff doesn't matter.
We have that in common then. Can you kind of tell us about where you grew up and how you got started, what your childhood was like, and what kind of hurdles you had to hurdle over to get here?
When I had to jump over to get here?
Yeah.
My childhood was pretty good, like anybody else's childhood, I think, to some degree. But I was actually born with a condition that nobody understood. So I was in the hospital as a kid. I'm talking starting in the beginning. There was the beginning. And I was in the hospital like 300 plus days out of the year. And it got really bad. And my parents didn't have a lot of money, but they actually were able to get a doctor that could come to the house. So that was like my first 6 years of life was going from the house to the hospital to the hospital to the house. And eventually I seemed to get a little more healthier. But my whole life was different, and I always wanted to be like everybody else. When you're a kid, all you want to do is just fit in. I want to fit in. I don't want to say anything that's stupid. I don't want to look different. I definitely don't want to sound different, okay? So I didn't get that wish. And I wanted to be like every other kid, just normal. Well, that wasn't in the cards. So I went through childhood, and I had a lot of pain. So I did athletics and I did stuff like other kids do. And I was in choir and trying to impress my mom like some kids do because my mom was a singer. Anyway, long story short, I got through high school, and toward the end of my high school, I had several surgeries. I almost died on the operating table because I thought they were operating on something different. So it's nothing like making a decision on what something is before actually doing the scan or the MRI to know what it is. So I went there and went through that, and then went through many scans and many doctors. And eventually, about the age of 22, I was actually finally diagnosed. And my life was very interesting because you really never knew. I was sick all the time. I was going to the hospital. I never knew what was going to happen. You never know if you're going to be around tomorrow. And so your relationships with people are extremely different, because you really don't know. Most of us take for granted the fact that we're going to hang out with somebody. We're going to see him today. We're going to see him tomorrow. We're going to see him the next day. God, we're going to be exhausted from seeing this person. Well, I never really felt that way because I really didn't know what my time was on this planet. And so I finally went to a doctor. They finally figured all this out, and they were going to do a surgery on me that was the first of its kind. And they were actually going to do it where the doctors would actually watch the surgery procedure being done. There was going to be various doctors, vascular surgeons, plastic surgeons, and they were actually going to cut this condition that I have out. About 2 weeks after agreeing to that and signing some documents, I was called into the hospital from the chief of staff's office, who was going to be in charge of the surgery. And I never got to see him again. But I remember walking in, the front desk lady and the nurse said, "Could you come in here a second?" And so I walked back to the back, one of the examining rooms, closed the door, and they handed me a file about this thick, patient file. And they said, "Here you go." And I said, "Here I go. What am I going to do with that?" They go, "We're not allowed to do the surgery. It's been deemed a bloodbath," as you can see in page 2 in the top of this, and 90% chance of your left leg being amputated, and about a 45 to 50% chance of your death on the table. So we will no longer be interested in doing this surgery. We wish you good day. And I was shown the door. And I was with my mom. My mom drove me, over there because I didn't have a license yet. Very interesting dynamic. So you go through the 20s. So that was in high school. And then you finally get to the 20s and you go through this whole process. And you're still looking for somebody that can help you, somebody that can give you some idea of what you need to do. I had a handicap sticker on my car. I couldn't walk that far. Athletics was a thing of the past. And I found a doctor up in Colorado, and it was random happenstance. My boyfriend at the time was on a flight, and he actually met a doctor there that was actually working with vascular malformations. And so I have a venous lymphatic malformation. And so the doctor was very happy to see me. It's almost like it's like a specimen. And so I went in there and I found out that I was one out of 180 people at the time that they had diagnosed in the world with this condition. And so then I went down this path with him of these experimental surgeries. And after the second one and being in a wheelchair and causing thrombosis throughout my entire body, not being able to move one time and having to go to the hospital because I was in bed sleeping, wake up, and I actually am incapacitated where I could not move. That was a fun time, going to Mount Sinai for a week. But anyway, I finally realized it was time to take my life back. I've never been in charge of my life. It seemed like I was always giving my power up to all these other people, these doctors, these people, those people, anybody that could give me information. And I realized they know about as much as I do. So that's when I realized I could learn my body, I could figure it out, and I could take it into my own hands. And that's what I did. And several months later, just real quick, my general practitioner called me and said, hey, your handicap sticker's about to go out. And by the way, you should get a permanent one. And this every year crap is getting on my nerves because I got to sign the document, then I got to give it to you. And I said, well, you know what? I said, Dr. Gordon, I said, I got a plan. Why don't we do it one more year? Okay. And he goes, just get the permanent one. I said, no, I'm not getting a permanent handicap sticker. So I went down to the department you have to go to, and I got my 1 year. Red tag. It was a 1 year tag, and it's a placard you stick it on the rearview mirror. And I told myself, I got 1 year to figure this out. And so by the end of that year, I had started working out as much as I could. I hired a personal trainer to help me build my muscle. And I actually created a diet that I researched through my blood type and everything else that would be the best for me, and tried to figure out how to basically live healthy with the condition that I have. And I was successful, and I figured it out. And so that's kind of the story. I got to basically do the life that people do, but it's the other side of the time, right? So normally people doing what I did, it happens like in the 60s or 70s or even their 80s. It doesn't happen in elementary school, middle school, high school, college. So I got to do the flip-flop. Very different experience.
You're doing life in reverse.
Yeah. I mean,
you're getting younger.
Yes, and I'm getting younger. I'm like Benjamin Button. Eventually I'm going to be like a 3-year-old child, I'll be like a bassinet, and you'll be like, okay, let's do the interview. It's interesting, and it is kind of going the opposite direction, but I guess to some degree, maybe I chose this. So it is pretty powerful.
Yeah, I think it's really powerful. What I find interesting is the more people I interview and listen to, it seems like when they have traumatic events early on in life, they learn behaviors that they carry on into their future life. They're very aware of choice and their decisions and how they make them. It just is, when I was 9 and I was in my trauma with my life, but it was mental, just being abandoned and trying to figure out where I was going and all that. And then at 17, being in Vietnam and trying to figure out how to survive all that, I kind of learned the things that I use now more than I ever used before. My expectations are totally different since that point. My choices have really evolved into being better choices because I just want to live and have a better life. And I'm not as focused on fun. And I mean, I'd like to have fun for sure, but I'm not as focused on it. I see a bigger picture of the world. My world view is bigger. Do you think that was true with you too?
Oh, yeah. I resonate with everything you're saying, Art. I mean, you've been through hell and back in your life, and I respect it, and I admire you, and I agree with you on the fun thing. The fun thing is a very interesting dynamic because I think it's the definition of what fun is. I think fun to a lot of people is just like going out and just tying one on and doing the same thing the next night and the next night. And that's not that fun for me because I believe you and I feel that way because we realize the value of our life, and we realize the value of the time that we have. So why would you want to repeat the same thing, rinse and repeat day after day? I mean, I don't care what it is. I mean, I love swimming with dolphins, but if you were swimming with dolphins every single day, I mean, how would it be? I mean, I love dolphins, but come on, but the reverse opposite is sitting at the bar with people every single night, the same thing. Who wants to do that? You got so many options. And another thing too is, why would I want to sit and watch TV hours and hours and hours and watch other people live their life? You're looking at reality shows, so I'm going to sit there and watch other people live their life because apparently their lives are so much more important than mine. I think it defines what is our fun. And I think you and I have the same connection of fun. Fun is accomplishing things. Fun is helping people. Fun is being honest and contributing. Fun is being around people that understand our value and we understand theirs. And that's what I think is fun.
And I agree with that. I just had an epiphany when you were talking about values. That is such a really profound truth. It does change your values when you go through things. You cherish your life more and you want to live it. And you don't want to get caught in the mundane things of every day, watching TV, going to the bar, going out dancing or whatever. Not that you don't occasionally want to do that. You just don't want it to be what defines your life. What kind of epiphanies have you had in this journey that you've had? I mean, I know that we don't want to go into the every one epiphanies, but have you had any major epiphanies in your journey through life? That
I have epiphanies every single day of my life. Today I had about 7. And the first one that I had today, which I've had, some of them are new and some of them are conjecture and some of them are a combination of something from kind of build upon something. Today's was about 7 a.m. in the morning, and I have a family member that's going through some challenges. And they've been beating themselves up over these challenges, and it's a work challenge. And it was interesting because I've seen a little bit of things happening in the past, and I understand they feel like they're lesser than because of something that hasn't happened, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent the text to my family member, this was this morning, and I said, hey, I just want to let you know, and I can actually read the text if you'd like me to. This was an epiphany that happened this morning. I just said we have tremendous power. When we begin to look at our situations with and from an angle of creation instead of happening to us, perhaps we will quickly see the lesson, understand the knowledge, and move past it. I'm imparting this knowledge to you and into my challenges as well. Have a great day. That was an epiphany I had 8 hours ago. And it's all going every day, all day. And the only time I don't get epiphanies is when I'm asking for them. It's like when you were single looking for a date. You know what I mean? It's like, God, why can't I just meet a good guy? You know what I mean? And it's like all the losers. I hate to say that. But it's the same thing with the epiphany. You get this amazing download, and it's like, wow, that was profound. You get another one, and then you start getting greedy. I want another one, and it's like, no, you're not.
You know what? My belief is that epiphanies are the precursor to expectations, because it's our subconscious telling us what we want, we should be doing.
I like that.
Yeah. And I think that that's what moves us into expectation and then action. And that's when things start to happen, when you take action. Because, like you were talking, you get caught in the mundane, and everybody seems like it just is prevalent nowadays that people just don't want to go out and do things. They just want to be like robots and just methodical about everything that they do. And they get upset if something turns over the apple. You're right. You and I probably can't live like that. It just doesn't work for us. But imagine if we had a whole world of people doing stuff. A lot of times I tell people it doesn't matter what you do. Just go do something, please. When I talk to high school kids, I always end it with, become a doer. Just go out and do things, and then go make doo-doo all over the earth. And they start laughing. But you know what? I hear back from them, and I hear them say, I always remember it because of the ending of that.
I do it all over. People say that too. Go do or whatever,
Yeah.
So funny. You do what you do, but I'll remember that forever. That's great.
What separates us all is the doers and the non-doers. And we just need more doers in the world.
I agree with you. I feel like a lot of folks, either they're scared to do.
Fear.
Yeah, what if they fail? And I think that that's another thing that we want to talk about at some point in our society today is the fact that I don't think failure is doing. So I think there's a big difference. I have a different thought process about what I define failure as. So most people say failure is I did something and I screwed up and it didn't work and I failed. My thing is failure to me is I didn't do anything. I didn't want to because I'm scared. That to me is failure. The fact that something doesn't work out the way that you expect it to is not failure, right? I think that's more like that happened.
That's knowledge.
That's knowledge.
In my book, I talk about that as learning. That's how I learn best. If I go out and do things, the reward isn't there that I was looking for, or the results weren't there that I was looking for. I always look and say to it, what did I learn by that? And how can I use that knowledge to increase my capabilities in this world? So to me, nothing I have ever tried and done has been a failure because everything is a learning experience to me. I didn't podcast before. I had to figure it out pretty much on my own and all that. I wasn't a writer before, even though in college I had to write papers and stuff like that. I'm not a writer, but I had to figure it out as I go. And if I would have let fear stop me, I would have nothing done. I'd be still sitting out at the ranch, drinking beer and being an old geezer, just like a bunch of people that I know. I mean, I just don't.
You being an old geezer, I don't know. I just don't see it.
I just don't want to live like that. The thing is, I don't want anyone else to live like that. But yet I see them doing it. It's not good. So, but let's talk a little bit about fear, because I believe that fear resides. Our expectations are based or viewed through two lenses, either faith or fear. Okay. Fear, we know, stops everything, but faith is what drives us going through, and not necessarily a religious faith, though I think that is strong and good, and probably for a lot of people, it's the greatest faith. But you can have faith in yourself. You can have faith in a coach and a therapist. You can have faith in your mom and dad. But really paramount is having faith in yourself and knowing that no matter what you do, everything is always going to work out the way that it was meant to be. But if you stop and let fear kill your dreams, your desires, I always talk about wants, needs, and desires. And if we let fear kill our wants, needs, and desires, we're going to live the most miserable life you could ever want to live. You want to expound on it, any thoughts you have about that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there really is only faith, love, and fear, and love and faith, I think, are connected on that deal. I think that fear, to me, is empty. It's always been very empty. It's kind of like guilt's cousin. I'm going to write that down, by the way, because I'm going to write a book on that, I think. Fear is guilt's cousin. And I think that's the deal, and I'm going to write that. By the way, I'm going to copyright that. But that's the key. It's like, I think the thing is that they're both empty, right? Like when we have guilt, what do? We go into the shame. We stop doing anything. We totally downplay our life. We can't move. We can't act. When we have fear, what do? We power down. We're too scared to do anything. We can't act. We can't do anything. And so it's like, to me, both of them are empty. And if you really look through both of them, there's nothing there. Like, it's all smoke screen and mirrors. When I was ill, my whole life, basically, and now I've gotten it under control and I don't consider myself ill anymore, there was that fear, always, that constant fear. But then I realized the fear, there's nothing there. I mean, there's fear that you're going to die. There's fear that's going to happen. But at the same time, a lot of the stuff we fear normally is small stuff. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, we fear not getting something, or we fear somebody not being our friend, or we fear not getting the pay raise, or whatever we're fearing, or we're fearing about not getting hurt or being. I think that fear is just our mind, and I'm not downplaying our mind, but it's our mind trying to hold us back from whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Because if you keep somebody in consistent fear, they're not going to do anything. You're not. You're too scared. What are they going to do? You know what I'm saying? And I just think that they're just empty emotions. And I think that faith and love, and there's no cornerstone on any religion here. I've read every Bible there is, it seems like. I know I've read and done my due diligence on every religion on this planet, pretty much. I think they all have good points. I think there's a way that you could combine them all, okay? I could take a good point of that. But I think if you look at spirituality or connectivity to a God, the God, your God within you, I think that's powerful. And if you connect with that on a daily basis, in a moment-to-moment basis, and minute-to-minute, the fear begins to alleviate because you begin to realize you're part of the connectivity. You're not just some random person. Everybody makes things work. Everybody is integral part of something. We're all connected. There is no degree of separation. You might not know the person, but there is no there's a reason why, if you look at, I don't do this Ancestry.com thing. I'm not giving them my saliva to go check out, but so that Pfizer can get another, God bless you, Pfizer, but another $100 billion deal. Come on. So, but the deal is that everybody's related to everybody, right? Didn't they say that, like, George W. Bush is related to George Washington? And there's a reason why everybody's related. We're all connected. And so when we begin to see that we have power within and faith, and we have faith not only in a higher being, all-encompassing God, I guess you could say. Some people agree with that text, other people don't. But something bigger than yourself. But then also you got to find the thing within you. Because if you believe in something like that, then there's got to be something within you that should be able to process that. And I think that, to me, is what I consider faith, unconditional love, the connectivity to all things.
Yeah, my belief is seed of expectation was planted in every man, woman, and child, because our expectations know no prejudices at all. Our expectations aren't prejudice. They're ours, and it's the one thing in our psyche that we can have control of, that no one else can take away from us. It's our expectations. When you let that fear take over your expectations, view it through that lens, it's stilted so bad, it affects your confidence. Your whole view becomes totally skewed. But when you look through faith, and you have faith in all the different sources we've talked about, it really, really drives you. It's what drove me. When I lost my wife to cancer in 2006, for 3 years, I went into doing things I had never done, and just not thinking that my world had ended. My kids came to me and said, Dad, you promised Mom you weren't going to do this. And I went out on the lawn and laid down at 2:00 in the morning, looked into the universe and said, hey, God, what's going to become of me? Just like I did when I was 9 years old. And I heard him say, I've given you all the tools. You just need to use them. And that's how I got the inspiration to write Expectation Therapy. I got up and just started writing. And when I look back on my life, I realized that every single event that I've been through, whether it be joyous, whether it be tragic, whether it be mediocre, my expectations always were that everything is going to be okay no matter what. I've taught my children that. There's such a relief in it. It takes away the anxiety. I don't worry about stuff because I know that no matter what, everything's going to be okay. No matter what I do. I don't do stupid things. I don't go out and purposely do stupid things and say, it's going to be okay because I say it's going to be okay. No. But I just live my life with that thought in there, and it brings out my creativity. And I find that now in my, what would be called senior years, I'm more creative, more prolific in writing, more prolific in thinking, just much different than I spent my first 60 years of my life. So it's really, really different.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Love it.
So I think we make choices. The power of choice is so powerful in our lives and controls so much. When we have faith and really live it, good things can happen.
And I agree with you. And I also feel, too, when people get into the fear mode, they get into the victim mode.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like I can do things. It's that you get into the mode of things are happening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you start going down that road, that's when you feel like you don't have any power.
Yeah, you lose control.
And then it starts compounding throughout parts of your life, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Very much so. How about people with anxiety? Where do you think anxiety lies?
In the mind.
Yeah, how does it work in our mind?
Well, I think anxiety I really think it's a vehicle for fear. I believe that we can create it. I know that if you can stop it on your own, then we have to be able to create it.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
So it's not like it's happening at us. It's not like the anxiety fairy starts going ding, 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 you get anxiety. I know that people out there think it's happening at them. I mean, but at the same time, if you don't really want to go into, I mean, if you want to, but I didn't want to go through a full scientific brain rundown on what happens. But I do think that if we can stop it with certain things, because stress and anxiety comes from feeling out of control. Stress and anxiety comes from something happening that we weren't expecting. A regiment and a schedule in life and being able to control certain things if you feel out of control is something you want to do. But there's also healthy lifestyle choices that you can make too to really downplay that anxiety. But I think that anxiety really is a robber of people's joy a lot of times. And then the medication that comes after that, I'm not going to downplay whatever. Some people need medication at this point to take care of that. And then all of a sudden they feel as if they're strapped to this medication. The medication is the only thing that can stop the anxiety. It's an interesting effect that we have here, and it's really all in our mind. I mean, I think we can choose to feel one way.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to ask us to shift gears here a little bit. I want to get into some personal stuff. Tell us about some of the shows that you're working on, some of the fun things you're doing in life to help people.
Well, thank you. Okay, yeah, so I have the radio show. So the radio show is Live Your True Life Perspectives, and that has been on since May of 2012. We're in 40 markets right now, and when I say we, I mean, well, I guess proverbial we. We are, me, myself, and I. That's three. Okay, and I do have a producer, too, who's been with me since 2013. He's a great guy, Bill. Bill's a good person. So we got that going on, and it's all about finding that happiness, true calling, dealing with relationship issues, borderline personality disorder, dealing with the narcissist in our life, dealing with the family drama, the stuff that most people need to deal with before we can really get to the good stuff, right? Because this is the stuff in the way of our life. The celebrity perspective is a little different. So the radio show is really consistency. Like I'll do a segment like tomorrow's show is about how to survive ADD, attention deficit disorder, but not only how to survive, but how to thrive. And I'm giving the information, not talking about medication in this situation, talking about actually things that you can do to alleviate and to work with ADD naturally. Not that I'm against medicine, just naturally. And then the TV show is the celebrity perspective. So the celebrity perspective, I interview celebrities and I ask them some really hard-hitting personal questions. It's really cool. And then in the middle of it, we switch seats on camera and they get the chance to ask me personal questions about me. Okay, so like there's no holds barred. It's really cool. So season 1 is on Amazon Prime. We are working on season 2. So actually in the next few days, I will be traveling out to Los Angeles to meet some folks. I've decided to make a couple of changes to the show, actually just one change. And so I'm actually going to add a roundtable discussion to that show. That'll be season 2. So the same premise in the very beginning, and then you have the interview, and then you have the switch, which is our hallmark. It's our cool standout thing. Nobody else is doing it. We did it first. Usually I would talk to the audience after that. Well, that's going to cut, and then we're going to go into a roundtable with the celebrity. And then at the end, I'll close out for like 60 seconds. And so it should be really cool. A lot of perspective, talking about anything from divorce to overcoming trauma to happiness. I think we all need to connect with everybody. And I think celebrities are no different than us. I think celebrities have been objectified for a very long time. And really, quite honestly, we're all connected. So if somebody's dealing with it, let's talk to the person that's dealt with it and come out the other side. And I think a lot of us will connect also with our favorite celebrities and realize that our life is not that much different.
Yeah. How about the Good Man Project? Are you doing anything with that right now? Or do you have time?
Yeah, actually, I've been working with them for years. And so I actually create video content for the Good Man Project every week. It really kind of started because it was I got coined the man whisperer at one point in time. And so that's how we kind of got into the Good Man Project, because it's really about empowering men and a different type of empowerment. So it's not about like, ooh, I'm man. I am man. It's more like I am man and I am allowed to have feelings. I am allowed to talk about my marriage that's not working. I'm raising my children on my own. I'm a single dad and I'm going through this stuff. or I'm suffering from mental illness and I'd like to talk about that, and I'm allowed to cry. It's not that that's the whole forum, but it's really based on the precedence that men are allowed to have emotions too. And also, let's show the other side that we don't always see. A lot of times we see, okay, man abandoned woman, or man's not taking care of his kids, or they owe money for whatever, for child custody. Or it's the different side of that. And so I create video content. It's not always directed toward men because it's a huge platform, but it's about, dealing with the relationship issues and stuff that we struggle through, but also finding our calling, finding ourselves, how to find purpose, how to do that kind of stuff. And I put stuff up there every single week on that platform.
Sounds great. Now I can see why you're so busy.
Yeah.
You got your hands in a lot of stuff. And on top of it, you have to keep creating, and you have your own practice that you have and all that. So it keeps you busy. We're nearing the end of our time together, but I wanted you to have the opportunity to tell people where, how, and when they can get a hold of you and all that pertinent information.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to do that. You can get in touch with me. You can either go to my website, which is ashleyberges.com, ASHLEY, Berge. I guess I should spell the Berges because that's more uncommon. BERGES, ashleyberges.com. And you can actually contact me from the contact page there and reach out to me if you'd like to get more information. The links on Amazon and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all that stuff is right on the front page, as well as the YouTube channel, a connection as well. So I do have a good community, a really good, solid, judgment-free zone community on YouTube. And there's new video content put on that every week as well. And it's Ashley Berges. So if you just go to Google, go to YouTube and put in Ashley, Berges, you'll find me, and new video content. And I also put some of my radio shows up there as well.
Thank you very much, Ashley. And I'll also include as much information in the show notes that I can so people know how to get a hold of you. Thank you for being a guest. You're truly special. I've known that since I first met you. To our audience, look her up. She's really fantastic. She's a super, super good person, and she can help you in a lot of different ways.
Thanks for listening to the show. Drop us your comments and questions with what you want answered on the show. You can subscribe on iTunes and Binge Network. You can also get more information on the website, expectationtherapy.com.